And inheritance is a very special and important branch of Islamic sciences of fiqh, due to the fact that it is so important that Allah Azza wa Jal took upon himself to explain and to divide the shares of the heirs when a deceased dies. Because if it were left to humans, they would have divided it according to their own whims and desires. And this is something that would not be at all productive or positive for humanity. And this is why Allah took upon himself to divide the inheritance. And the inheritance, or al-Faraid, as it's known in Islamic fiqh, or Ilmul Meerath, this is an important branch of science because not a lot of people know it. And those who know it don't know all the ins and outs of it, because it needs someone who's bright to understand this beautiful science. So al-Faraid comes from the root word farada, which means to assign or to obligate. And al-fard is something that is mandatory and an obligation. And this fard would be assigned to its recipient. And the inheritance means the rightful share due to an heir on the death of a relative. And when you first go to this science, you will find that there are a number of subtitles that are very important, such as the causes of inheritance, the things that block inheritance, the conditions of inheritance, the pillars of inheritance. All of these things a student of knowledge must be acquainted with, so that when he studies this beautiful science, he at least has a good idea. Now, I won't say that we will cover it thoroughly in our classes, but I will, inshallah, give you an idea about it so that it would be clear to you how it should be done and how, when to pursue this beautiful science, you will have the ability to understand it. So I'll just give you an introduction. With this introduction, you can read any book of inheritance and you will have a clear idea what you are going through and reading bi'idhnillahi azza wa jal. So what are the pillars of inheritance? There are 3 pillars. One, the one who is leaving the money or the wealth behind, which is known in Arabic as al-muwarrith, definitely the deceased. And the one who is the heir, who's inheriting, and he's referred to as al-warith. And the money itself, the wealth, the property that is to be inherited. These are the 3 pillars. Now, what are the causes? What makes a person an heir? What are the causes of inheritance? How can we know that this person inherits or not? There are three types or three reasons for a person to inherit. One is marriage. So this is related to what? To the spouses. Once a marriage contract is conducted, if a man dies, his wife inherits him. If she dies, he inherits her. And when we say one of the causes or reasons of inheritance is marriage, this does not refer to living together or consummating the marriage. So even if only the marriage contract was conducted and it was authentic and accepted and valid, that's it. They become husband and wife and they would inherit. Example, a man proposed to a woman. Her guardian said, I give you my daughter in marriage. He said, I accept her marriage. And there are two male witnesses, Muslims, present. So now they are man and wife. The man travels straight to the country he works in. And after a year or two, he's supposed to come and consummate the marriage. But sadly, his plane crashes and he dies. So the woman was never ever alone with her husband. Yet she inherits him. And she is obliged to stay the period of iddah, which is 4 months and 10 days. So this is what is meant by marriage. The simple marriage contract, once conducted, khalas, they are man and wife and they inherit one another. The second cause of inheritance, the second cause of a person becoming an heir is by blood relations, which is referred to as kinship, which can also be referred to in Arabic as an-nasab. And this refers to a person's parents, which we refer to as usul. So your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, no matter how high they go, they are considered your usul, not the big da'wah organization center that we follow, which you see behind me on the banner, which has magnificent material for you all to make da'wah and to help you how to make da'wah. And it's all free of charge, not a penny from your side. All what you have to do is just click and visit their websites, Usul, and also the IslamicFiqh.net, and the hundreds of different platforms of da'wah in different languages, printed material, videos. This is not the usul I'm referring to in my class today. Usul means your lineage going up. Father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and so on. So these have a right in your wealth after you die. And then we have al-furu', the offspring. No matter how low they go, well, maybe low is not the appropriate word, no matter how down they descend. So you have your sons, daughters, grandsons and daughters, great-great-grandsons and daughters, and so on. Then we have what is known as al-hawashi, those who are not up and not down, but on the same level. And they are referred to as uncles, cousins, siblings above all. So your siblings are from the hawashi. They are related to you, they're closest to you after your parents and your children, and so on. The third type of the causes or what makes an heir, in the book they are referring to al-wala, and unfortunately they are referring to al-wala in one aspect which is disputed upon, and the vast majority of scholars say that it is not correct, and they do not uphold this to be a relationship. So what is meant by al-wala? In Islamic fiqh, the Prophet said alayhi sallam, al-wala'u liman a'taqa, and this is narrated or reported in a Sahih when Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, once met Barira, and Barira was a slave woman, and she came to Aisha asking for charity, for help, because she wants to buy herself out from her masters. And this is a legitimate way of freeing a slave. When a slave goes to his master and says that I want my freedom, how much would you accept in money in order for you to set me free? He says, I like $1,000, but you have to bring the $1,000 within a year. So the slave goes and works, earns, and then brings the $1,000 to his master, and his master sets him free. So Barira went to Mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, and sought her assistance. So Aisha said, listen, I'll buy all of you. I will not give you an assistance. I'll buy all of you. Here's the money, but go check with your master first. So she went to her masters, and they said, yes, no problem, we accept, but your allegiance should be to us. So she went back, told Mother Aisha. Mother Aisha told the Prophet ﷺ about their condition, and the Prophet was outraged. He was angered by that. And he said to her, give her the money and let them set her free, and the allegiance would be yours. Because any condition that goes against the book of Allah is invalid, even if it were 100 conditions. So from this hadith, and the Prophet said, al-wala'u liman a'taq. From this hadith, the Prophet said, allegiance is to the one who sets the slave free. Now, what do you mean by allegiance, Sheikh? It means that after I set my slave free, I am related to my slave in a way as if he is from my kinship, because he doesn't have parents, he doesn't have brothers and friends, etc. So if he were to die, I would inherit him. Now he's a free man, but who freed him? I did. So I have the allegiance of his in his life and also after his death. This is the verdict of the majority of scholars of fiqh, that the slave that I free, if he does not have of offspring, he doesn't have children, he doesn't have a family, he's like an orphan who we do not know whom he belongs to. In this case, once he dies, I inherit him because there is a bond of allegiance. Now, in our book, it seems that they have overlooked this fact and only mentioned the Hanafi point of view, which is if two men were to meet and one of them was a childless, not a childish, childless, yeah, he doesn't have a child, and he doesn't have anyone to inherit, so I come to you and say, listen, you are my brother, there is this allegiance between us, you are my wali, and I'm your wali. Whenever one of us dies, the other inherits him, as if we are siblings, as if we are kinships. And this is applicable only in the Hanafi school of thought. The vast majority of scholars say that this is not applicable. This is not something you can donate or give or exchange with another. This is something that is mandated by the Quran and the Sunnah, either marriage or kinship or al-wala through the allegiance that comes after freeing a slave. Now, having said all of that, these are the three types of conditions or the causes, that is, these are the three causes for inheritance: marriage, kinship, and al-wala through freeing a slave.